Thanks for joining us. To begin this news, Nigeria's leader, President Muhammadu Buhari, who has declared that Nigerians decided to vote for Bola Tinubu and other candidates of the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC) in last Saturday's presidential and National Assembly elections due to the high level of development brought about by the present administration. Speaking while receiving in audience the president-elect and other leaders of the ruling party at his Daura country home in Katsina State, the president, according to a statement issued by presidential spokesperson Garba Shehu, said he was pleased with the people's choice of APC and its candidates. Buhari commended APC supporters and the Presidential Campaign Council for the historic win, adding that it would never have been possible without discipline, commitment, and hard work. Meanwhile, the United States has congratulated Nigeria on the election of the ruling party presidential candidate Bola Tinubu while calling for calm amid accusations of voter fraud and concerns over technical glitches. The State Department called on the electoral body to improve on the highlighted issues before the March 11 gubernatorial elections, noting that Nigerians were right to expect them to do better. The U.S. also urged all parties to avoid violence at this critical time and seek to resolve any disputes through legal channels.
The United States congratulates the people of Nigeria, President-elect Tinubu, and all political leaders following the declaration by Nigeria's Independent National Electoral Commission, or INEC, on the results of the February 25th presidential election. This competitive election represents a new period for Nigerian politics and democracy. Each of the top 3 candidates was the leading vote getter in 12 states, a remarkable first in Nigeria's modern political era, reflecting the diversity of views that characterize the campaign and the wishes of Nigeria's voters. We understand that many Nigerians and some of the parties have expressed frustrations about the manner in which the process was conducted in the shortcomings of gubernatorial elections. There are well-established. We note with concern reports that numerous members of the media were attacked during the course of the election, and we urge the government, security forces, political actors, and all citizens to respect the media's critical role by refraining from any damaging acts against them and ensuring accountability for such acts when.
In the meantime, UK Foreign Secretary James Cleverly held registered voters for exercising their democratic rights and urged opposition parties to seek legal ways of addressing issues as well as focus on delivery. Democracy, a hand of fellowship to candidates of the major parties to douse the tension across the country. Elsewhere, the Majority Leader, House of Representatives Al-Hassan Doguwa, has been reportedly remanded in prison custody by a chief magistrate court in Kano. The lawmaker, alongside one other suspect, was charged with 5 counts bordering of leading thugs who attacked and set on fire the office of the New Nigeria People's Party (NNPP) at Tudunwada, Kano, where 2 people were allegedly burnt to death during the collation of results after just concluded elections. Reports say he was also accused of shooting to death and injuring others during the raid on the NNPP Tudunwada office. Meanwhile, the magistrate Ibrahim Yola said he had no jurisdiction to entertain the charges. Away from that, the federal government has requested India to grant visa and arrival to Nigerians as a reciprocal gesture. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, made the request at the G20 meeting in India. Onyema, according to a statement signed by his special advisor, Sarah Sanda, also requested India to fast-track the issuance of business visa to Nigerians. The minister emphasized the need for bilateral trade between both countries. Meanwhile, the Federal Executive Council in Abuja has approved the sum of 39.6 billion naira for various contracts for transmission lines in the Ministry of Power. Minister of Power Abubakar Aliyu, in a press briefing, said the 39.6 billion naira contract comprised of offshore and onshore components of $53 million and 15.6 billion naira respectively. He noted that the second memorandum sought the Council's approval for the award of contract for the construction of a 15-kilometer turn-in turn-out of the existing Akure-Ado-Ekiti 132 kilovolts kV single-circuit transmission line at Akure 330 kilovolts, 132 kilovolts, and 33 kilovolts substations. In a separate development, the management of the National Emergency Management Agency NEMA, Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency NIHSA, and Nigerian Meteorological Services Agency NIMET has met in a bid to tackle the impending floods predicted to hit the country this year. Parties in the two-day meeting ongoing in Abuja said the experts' technical program would develop preparedness and mitigation strategies to address climate-related disasters for the 2023 rainy season. The Director General NEMA, Mustafa Ahmed, stated that the strategic plan they intend to develop is predicated on the 2023 seasonal climate prediction released by NIMET on January 24, 2023, and annual flood outlook released by NIHSA on February 17, 2023. Recall that in February, the federal government announced that a total of 178 local government areas in 30 states and the Federal Capital Territory were at risk of high floods this year. At the home front, residents of Yoa, Akwa Ibom State capital have called on the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to ensure that the March 11th gubernatorial and State House of Assembly elections is free, fair and credible. They made this call while speaking to our correspondent Esther Otoyo on the reactions to the just concluded presidential and National Assembly elections.
I also call on INEC to still keep on the free and fair election so far. This is a test run on our nascent democracy. So if we could give peace a chance, me and you could give peace a chance, we go out to vote a candidate of our choice, and then I think Nigeria, we will have a sustained democracy.
They also solicited with INEC to ensure quick arrivals of the BVAs, ad hoc staff and other electoral materials to the polling units so as to enable a quick commencement of the elections.
I want to advise INEC that they should arrive polling unit on time. 2, they should make sure that the BFAS has been activated before they move from INEC office. Because most time when they brought the BFAS, it took time before they come up for it to begin to use. Ad hoc staff arrive early. If there is any fault on this website that will warrant breakdown during the process, because the number of people that will vote on March 11 will be more.
We need a lot of machines so they can help people to vote in time.
Recall that the just concluded presidential election saw Bola Tinubu as the president-elect by the electoral body. In Africa, a number of thousands of people have demonstrated in Biapaga in eastern Burkina Faso to demand more security 3 days after a reported deadly attack on a neighboring town whose death toll remains unknown. According to the governor of the region, Hubert Yamego, who said an assessment would be drawn up as soon as possible, confirmed that the terrorists attacked civilians, ransacked and set fire on several material goods. Recall that Burkina Faso has seen a resurgence of jihadist violence since the beginning of the year, with dozens of deaths, civilians and soldiers almost every week. Reports say the violence has left more than 10,000 civilians and soldiers dead since 2015 and 2 million people displaced. Still in Africa, at least 14 people have reportedly died, 7 in Madagascar and 7 in Mozambique following a tropical cyclone. According to the United Nations Situation Report, the number of people affected by Cyclone Freddy has risen to 383,000 from 226,000 in Madagascar and more than 163,300 in Mozambique. Meanwhile, the World Food Programme's representative in Madagascar, Pasquilina Sirio, said even though the intensity of Cyclone Freddy was not as much as expected, hundreds of thousands of people are in need of humanitarian assistance and recovery will take months. On our foreign scene, France President Emmanuel Macron has begun a tour of Central Africa in a diplomatic drive to test a new responsible relationship with the continent as anti-French sentiment runs high in some former colonies. He landed in Gabon's capital Libreville on Wednesday and will later head to Angola, Congo-Brazzaville and the neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo. Macron's trip comes as alarm grows in Paris over Russia's rising influence in French-speaking African countries, joining China, which has been present in the region for some years. According to Macron, the French military would reduce its footprint on the continent in the coming months, though a military source and analysts have said French army chiefs may be reluctant to do so. Still on the foreign scene, protests have erupted in Greece over the rail crash which killed 43 people, with many seeing it as an accident that had been waiting to happen. The protesters clashed with police outside the headquarters of Hellenic Train in Athens, the company responsible for maintaining Greece's railways. Recall that protests were also held in Thessaloniki and the city of Larissa, near where the disaster happened on Tuesday night. The Greece government has said that an independent investigation will deliver justice. Meanwhile, 3 days of national mourning have been declared across the country following the incident. Still to come in the news. Flying Eagles to battle Uganda for World Cup ticket. We'll bring you the rest of the stories just after the break.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by cross them. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding you, lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in course of them.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. for Legally Speaking.
Thanks for staying tuned, and now to conclude the news. On our business news, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has disclosed that the total assets of the banking industry grew by 14.36 trillion naira, or 24.24%, from 59.24 trillion naira at the end of December 2021 to 73.59 trillion naira in the corresponding period of 2022. The CBN disclosed this in the personal statement made by the Deputy Governor, Financial System Stability Directorate (CBN), Aisha Ahmed, at the last Monetary Policy Committee meeting. She said key industry aggregates also continued their year-on-year upward trajectory, with total assets rising to 73.59 trillion naira in December of 2022 from 59.24 trillion naira in December of 2021, while total deficits rose to 45.50 trillion naira from 38.42 trillion naira over the same period. According to her, the financial system had provided significant support for needed domestic economic resilience amid global shocks and remained strong into 2023. Still in business, Seplat Energy PLC has said the sale and purchase agreement to acquire the entire share capital belonging to Mobile Producing Unlimited Nigeria for $1.28 million plus up to $300 million contingent consideration was still awaiting presidential approval. Its Chief Executive Officer, Roger Brown, made the announcement while commenting on its audited results for 2022, which recorded a rise in profit before tax by 15% to 87 billion naira from 71 billion naira year-on-year. According to Brown, the company hopes to conclude the transaction before the end of the current administration. The company, however, said it would be paying a sum of 7.5% final dividend, despite the significantly disrupted production experienced in the second half of the year. In health, Cambodian health authorities have said there was no human-to-human transmission of bird flu in the case of a father and daughter who caught the virus. The 11-year-old girl died last Wednesday and her father tested positive 2 days later, prompting the World Health Organization to voice concern about possible transmission between humans. Reports say one of the worst global outbreaks of avian influenza has been raging since late 2021, with thousands of poultry culled, while birds dying in large numbers and infections among some mammals rising. Meanwhile, Cambodia's Communicable Disease Control Department had said that the 49-year-old father, who had no symptoms, had recovered and been discharged from hospital. Humans rarely contract bird flu, but when they do, reports say it is usually from direct contact with infected birds. Still in health, Beijing has accused Washington of harming its own credibility after a top United States intelligence official said his agency believed the pandemic was most likely caused by a laboratory incident in Wuhan, China. FBI Director Christopher Wray told newsmen that the bureau has now assessed that the source of COVID-19 was most likely a potential lab incident in Wuhan. Reports say Chinese officials have angrily denied the claim, calling it a smear campaign against Beijing. Meanwhile, Wray's comments come after a report earlier this week had said the U.S. Department of Energy had determined that a leak from a Chinese lab was the most likely cause of the COVID-19 outbreak. In sports, Nigeria's under-20 national team, the Flying Eagles, will today, Thursday, face the Hippos of Uganda in the quarterfinals of the ongoing CAF Under-20 AFCON in Egypt. Aside from progress to the semi-finals of the competition, the winners of the clash will also secure a spot at the 2023 Under-20 World Cup, which will take place in Indonesia between May 20th and June 11. Having made it out of the group stage in a bumpy manner, the Flying Eagles have set the World Cup place as their primary objective at the tournament, which they last won in 2015. Meanwhile, their opponents Uganda will head into the game high on confidence after finishing top of Group A thanks to 2 draws against Congo and Sudan, a win over the Central African Republic, and the luck of drawn lot. Uganda only made their debut appearance at the Under-20 AFCON in the last edition, but they shocked all, including themselves, as they surmounted all obstacles to reach the final, but eventually settled for second place as they were beaten by Ghana in the final. Still in sports, Alejandro Garnacho and Fred Struck late as Manchester United came from behind to beat West Ham 3-1 in the FA Cup to reach the quarter-final. In the night's other fifth-round ties, fourth-tier Grimsby embarrassed Premier League strugglers Southampton 2-1 and Burnley beats 10-man Fleetwood 1-0. Manchester United, who made 6 changes to the team that started Sunday's League Cup final win against Newcastle, lacked fluency in front of an expectant Old Trafford crowd. West Ham had the better chances in the first half but looked blunt in attack without the cup-tied Danny Ings. United goalkeeper David De Gea twatted Mikel Antonio when the West Ham forward bore down on goal midway through the opening period and Emerson Palmier flashed an inviting ball across the box. On our entertainment news, tickets for this year's Eurovision Song Contest in Liverpool will go on sale on Tuesday, 7 March. Reports say fans will be able to pay to attend 9 shows, 2 live semi-finals and the grand finale, as well as 6 previews, doubling up as a dress rehearsal. Prices reportedly range from £90 to £290 for the live semi-finals and £160 to £380 for the live grand final. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do well to follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum TV News at 12. I am Uyai Anyekan. Thanks for watching and do enjoy the rest of your day.